In ancient Egypt, one god stood out, not for his strength in battle, but for his power over knowledge. This was Thoth, Jehuti, the divine scribe, lord of time, and guardian of hidden wisdom. With the head of an ibis, he was believed to not only record fate, but also shape it, deciding the destiny of gods and men. Attributed to the invention of writing, the creation of the calendar, and the personification of Maat, the principle of cosmic order, Thoth became the mind of the gods. In this video, we unravel his origins, myths, and legacy, from his central role in Egyptian religion to his transformation into Hermes Trismegistus and his lasting influence on Western thought. According to ancient Egyptian cosmology, Thoth emerged not through birth, but as an emanation of divine thought, born from the lips or mind of Ra, the solar creator. He was not flesh, but logos incarnate, the divine intellect given form. His name, Jehuti, signified his aspect as the master of the sacred word. Iconographically, Thoth appeared either as a man with the head of an ibis, symbolizing perception and grace, or as a baboon, representing nocturnal wisdom and lunar knowledge. His dual animal forms hinted at the depth of his divine intelligence. Thoth's earliest roles were intertwined with balance and mediation. In myths, he was the one who quelled conflicts among gods, particularly during battles between Horus and Set. Acting as divine arbitrator, he ensured justice was served without tipping the cosmic scales. In funerary texts such as the pyramid texts and coffin texts, he appears as a judge and guide, offering wisdom to the deceased and recording their fate in the afterlife. He was not just a deity of knowledge, but a cosmic stabilizer. Crucial to Egyptian civilization, Thoth was credited with the invention of hieroglyphs. Writing was sacred in Egypt, not merely a communication tool, but a channel for divine truth. Hieroglyphs, as conceived by Thoth, were magical in essence. Each glyph captured metaphysical realities, and the act of writing invoked divine power. Temples kept scriptoria, where scribes, regarded as priests, copied sacred texts with ceremonial precision. In timekeeping, Thoth's genius was equally evident. He structured the lunar calendar and devised systems to harmonize solar and lunar cycles. He measured the stars, guided agricultural schedules, and ordained the rhythm of festivals. By aligning time with Ma'at, he ensured that society moved in sync with cosmic harmony. Time, in Egypt, was not linear. It was cyclical, eternal, and sacred. Thoth was its silent regulator. In the mysterious Duat, the Egyptian underworld, Thoth assumed a pivotal role in the judgment of the dead. During the weighing of the heart, he recorded the outcome of Anubis's scales, where a soul's heart was weighed against Ma'at's feather. If the heart was heavy with sin, it was devoured by Amit. If light, the soul passed on to eternal life. Thoth's record was final and unquestionable. Truth incarnate. Neutral and detached, Thoth embodied Ma'at not through emotion, but through unwavering clarity. Unlike gods driven by jealousy, passion, or revenge, Thoth stood aloof, focused only on truth and order. This made him both revered and feared. His judgment was incorruptible, and his intellect unassailable. He was the cosmic bookkeeper, a god of equilibrium. Temples built in Thoth's honor, particularly in Hermopolis, became intellectual sanctuaries. Here, priests preserved astronomical data, legal codes, and philosophical scrolls. The sacred art of writing was passed down through generations, and Thoth's presence was invoked before every inscription. His libraries were not just collections of books, they were portals to divine understanding. Thus, from the dawn of Egyptian religion, Thoth emerged as more than a deity. He was the spirit of knowledge itself. Every scroll, every star chart, every uttered prayer bore the invisible signature of this divine scribe. In a world ruled by cycles and mystery, Thoth offered clarity, continuity, and connection. As Egyptian civilization deepened in mysticism, the knowledge attributed to Thoth became more esoteric and selectively guarded. Among the priesthood and scholars, it was believed that Thoth had authored secret texts so potent that their mere reading could alter the laws of nature. These sacred works, never seen by the common folk, were said to grant power over gods, spirits, and the fabric of reality itself. Central to this tradition was the fabled Book of Thoth, a legendary tome whispered about in myth and mystery schools. It was said to contain spells that allowed the reader to speak with animals, control the heavens, and even resurrect the dead. Yet, its power came with dire consequences. Thoth himself, guardian of Ma'at, set barriers to its access. It could only be read by those proven worthy, those who had transcended ego and desire. This tension between the hunger for divine knowledge and the risk it posed became a recurring motif in Egyptian lore. Myths tell of pharaohs and magicians who, lured by the promise of limitless wisdom, dared to breach the sacred boundaries. They entered hidden tombs, deciphered cryptic glyphs, and invoked forces beyond comprehension. Their fates were almost always tragic. One of the most chilling aspects of these legends is the mental unraveling of those who approached Thoth's forbidden works unprepared. Madness, hallucinations, and even physical decay afflicted the unworthy. These tales weren't merely cautionary, they underscored a profound spiritual principle that true wisdom must be earned, not stolen. In symbolic terms, Thoth's opposition to Set, the god of chaos, took on a new dimension. Where Set represented impulsive disruption, Thoth symbolized measured reasoning. Some myths depicted them in debates over cosmic order, with Thoth's calm logic consistently prevailing. These stories emphasize that knowledge without wisdom leads to disorder, a lesson still relevant today. Temples dedicated to Thoth, especially in Hermopolis Magna, served as centers of guarded learning. Initiates spent years mastering language, astronomy, and metaphysics before being granted access to higher teachings. The structure mirrored a cosmic hierarchy. Only by ascending through stages of discipline could one approach divine truth. Ancient texts suggest that Thoth's sacred writings were stored in crypts beneath temple complexes, sealed with magical locks and guarded by spiritual trials. Only those who had purified their hearts and minds through ritual and moral rectitude could hope to reach them. This portrayed Thoth not as a hoarder of secrets, but as a protector of sacred responsibility. Legends evolved over time, incorporating elements of Greek and Roman mystery traditions. Thoth's lore was eventually syncretized into Hermeticism, but even then, the theme of dangerous knowledge persisted. The idea that the divine word held power too great for the uninitiated endured, shaping philosophies and secret societies for centuries. Ultimately, the myths surrounding forbidden knowledge under Thoth's care served not to discourage learning, but to sanctify it. They reminded humanity that wisdom is not merely accumulation, it is transformation. The path to enlightenment is one of humility, reverence, and inner purification. Only then could one begin to grasp the truths that Thoth so carefully guarded. The tale of Setna Kamwas, son of Ramses II, encapsulates Egypt's cautionary stance toward unearned wisdom. In the myth, Setna, a scholar prince, discovers the hidden tomb of Naneferkaptah, a magician who once possessed the Book of Thoth. Driven by ambition, Setna steals the book, instantly gaining supernatural powers, but at a steep cost. His reality distorts, his mind fractures, and he is haunted by spirits and misfortune. The legend unfolds with a haunting sequence of events. Setna's visions become nightmares, his family torn apart, his wealth turned to ash, and his soul burdened with guilt. He eventually realizes the cost of his arrogance and returns the book to its resting place, performing rituals to appease the divine order. Only through repentance is balance restored, a clear moral emphasizing respect for sacred boundaries. This myth reveals the Egyptian worldview regarding wisdom. It is not a right, but a privilege. The story echoes a larger cultural principle that sacred knowledge, if acquired without discipline or reverence, becomes a curse. In defying Thoth's divine structure, Setna unravels his own life, reinforcing the importance of humility before the mysteries of the cosmos. The character of Naneferkaptah, too, plays a vital role. Once a brilliant magician, he had also succumbed to the temptation of the Book of Thoth, leading to the tragic death of his wife and child. His mummified body, eternally bound to the book, serves as a spectral warning. The layers of this tale create a recursive loop of hubris and ruin, one generation failing to learn from the other. Temples and tombs often incorporated protective spells and curses inscribed by scribes invoking Thoth. These texts warned intruders that sacred knowledge was defended by divine wrath. The fear of being mentally or spiritually destroyed by forbidden reading was not metaphorical. It was believed to be real, woven into the metaphysics of the text itself. The Book of Thoth, then, is not a simple object. It is an archetype, a symbolic construct embodying humanity's deepest yearning and gravest peril. It represents the threshold between the known and the unknowable, between sanctioned enlightenment and reckless intrusion. The Egyptians saw this threshold not just as mystical, but profoundly ethical. In this light, Thoth is portrayed less as a teacher and more as a gatekeeper. He does not deny knowledge, but demands readiness. His function is to ensure that truth is never detached from virtue. This guardian role made him essential in the Egyptian religious psyche, not just for scribes, but for kings, priests, and seekers alike. Even millennia later, the myth of Setna continues to influence esoteric traditions. Occult texts, grimoires, and initiation rites echo the structure of the story: forbidden books, trials, and the test of character. The figure of the wise scribe, both alluring and fearsome, remains central to the Western imagination. Ultimately, the Book of Thoth is not about magic tricks or domination. It is about transformation. Those who read it with pure hearts are elevated. Those who seek it for vanity are condemned. The myth teaches that the path to wisdom must be paved not with ambition, but with surrender, to truth, to balance, to the divine order embodied by Thoth. Thoth's role in Egyptian cosmology extended far beyond that of a scribe or keeper of records. He was seen as the very architect of time and fate, a god who whispered the events of each day into the ear of Ra at dawn, setting the rhythm of reality. In this vision, destiny was not pre-written by impersonal forces, but lovingly composed by a mind steeped in wisdom, logic, and balance. The texts of Hermopolis describe Thoth as standing beside the solar bark of Ra, recounting the decrees of the day. He did not force events, but articulated their lawful unfolding, aligning them with Ma'at. This placed him in a role of divine synchronizer, ensuring that all occurrences, human or divine, fit within the cosmic tapestry. In this sense, Thoth was not only a prophet, but a composer of divine music. One of the most significant myths highlighting Thoth's influence involves Isis and her quest for Ra's secret name. Recognizing the immense power behind knowing a deity's true name, Isis turned to Thoth for guidance. With his help, she crafted a cunning plan to extract this hidden identity, showing that even the most powerful gods needed Thoth's aid to alter cosmic hierarchies. This myth emphasizes a crucial concept: that knowledge can be more potent than strength. By unlocking the mysteries of the universe through intellect and ritual, Thoth's wisdom allowed others to reshape divine dynamics. The gods, like mortals, operated within a system of laws that Thoth himself had helped articulate. He was not above the divine order, he was its mind and memory. Pharaohs often sought Thoth's blessings before embarking on major endeavors. Whether declaring war, sealing alliances, or launching monumental construction, rulers consulted his priests for omens and alignment with Ma'at. This practice reflected the belief that acting without Thoth's favor could result in disorder and ruin. His approval was the stamp of cosmic legitimacy. The concept of a celestial ledger, maintained by Thoth, appears repeatedly in Egyptian religious thought. In it were recorded the deeds, intentions, and life paths of every soul. This record wasn't immutable, but dynamic, shaped by choices and rituals. Thus, while fate existed, it was interactive. Human action could influence the script, but only if guided by wisdom and alignment with truth. Thoth's lack of arrogance in wielding such power set him apart from many mythological figures. He did not manipulate or dominate, but stewarded. He saw destiny as a current, not a cage, something one could navigate with knowledge and virtue. His presence in myths is often quiet, guiding from the margins, rather than taking center stage. This idea reinforced a profound ethical dimension in Egyptian religion. Destiny was not a tool of oppression, but a reflection of one's harmony with the universe. Thoth embodied the promise that, with discipline and awareness, one could shape one's path. The gods had roles, but humans had choices. It was a dance between will and wisdom. Thoth's symbolism also extended to the stars. As a lunar deity and celestial observer, he governed not only time, but its signs. His association with astronomy and astrology made him a conduit for understanding omens and cycles. Priests used his teachings to interpret eclipses, seasonal shifts, and divine messages written in the sky. Ultimately, Thoth's authorship of destiny was an invitation, not to submission, but to participation. To live wisely was to write alongside him, to be co-authors in a story whose plot honored balance, insight, and eternal truth. His script was vast, but within it, every soul had a voice, every act had weight, and every truth had its time. With the conquest of Egypt by Alexander the Great and the rise of the Hellenistic world, Thoth underwent a profound transformation. Greek scholars identified him with Hermes, the messenger and god of wisdom. This fusion gave birth to Hermes Trismegistus, thrice great Hermes, a syncretic figure who embodied the philosophical and mystical aspects of both traditions. Thus, Thoth's teachings entered a new era, influencing not just religion, but metaphysics, medicine, and science. The Hermetic corpus, a series of spiritual and philosophical texts attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, became central to late antique thought. These writings spoke of the unity between the divine and the material, the spiritual journey of the soul, and the power of knowledge as a means of salvation. Though written in Greek, their heart beat with Egyptian rhythm, preserving Thoth's essence across cultures and centuries. Among the most iconic elements of this legacy is the Emerald Tablet, a short but profound Hermetic text. It contains the famous axiom, "As above, so below," a phrase expressing the belief that the microcosm reflects the macrocosm, and that by understanding oneself, one can understand the universe. This principle, rooted in Egyptian cosmology, found new life in alchemy and the occult sciences of Europe and the Islamic world. Thoth, as Hermes Trismegistus, became a symbol of hidden wisdom. Medieval alchemists, Renaissance philosophers, and mystics across ages revered him as the original teacher. His name was invoked in secret societies, Masonic rituals, and magical grimoires. In these traditions, he was not just a mythic god, but a guide for the inner quest, a beacon in the labyrinth of the human soul. His influence also extended into early Islamic esotericism. Philosophers and scientists of the Islamic Golden Age studied Hermetic texts alongside Greek and Persian works. Figures like Jabir ibn Hayyan, Geber, and Al-Kindi drew from Hermetic principles, blending them with Islamic theology to explore chemistry, cosmology, and the nature of knowledge. Thoth's spirit, through Hermes, lived on in the libraries of Baghdad and Cordoba. In the European Renaissance, a revival of Hermeticism fueled humanist and philosophical movements. Thinkers like Marsilio Ficino translated the Hermetic corpus into Latin, inspiring new dialogues between science, spirituality, and art. Thoth's message, that truth is universal and accessible through introspection, resonated deeply in a world on the cusp of modernity. The Enlightenment would gradually shift focus toward empirical science. Yet the symbolic figure of Thoth never vanished. He evolved from a literal deity into an archetype, the sage, the seeker, the keeper of secrets. In literature, cinema, and psychology, echoes of Thoth appear wherever knowledge is pursued with reverence. He is the librarian, the mystic, the architect of understanding. Modern occultism continues to honor Thoth's legacy. The Thoth Tarot, designed by Aleister Crowley and Lady Freda Harris, draws heavily on Hermetic and Egyptian symbolism. New Age movements regard him as a spiritual guide. Even in digital culture, references to Thoth persist. He appears in games, comics, and forums where myth and mystery are celebrated. Ultimately, Thoth's endurance lies in his adaptability. Whether inscribed on temple walls or encoded in esoteric texts, his message transcends dogma. He teaches that knowledge is sacred, that balance is divine, and that truth, though hidden, can be revealed through dedication and humility. His flame has passed through civilizations, igniting minds across millennia. To honor Thoth is to honor the quest for understanding. He reminds us that wisdom is not static. It evolves, expands, and enlightens. From the hieroglyphs of ancient scribes to the pixels of today's seekers, Thoth endures as the silent hand behind every act of learning, every spark of insight, every word written in pursuit of the divine. Thoth was never a god of conquest, but of contemplation. His realm was not the battlefield, but the scroll, the star chart, and the ceremonial utterance. He held no scepter of war, but wielded the reed pen and the sacred word. His authority came not from dominance, but from depth, an authority that resonated in the stillness of truth rather than the roar of power. Through the myths that surround him, we glimpse a vision of the divine that values wisdom over strength, introspection over impulse, and balance over ambition. Thoth invites us to consider knowledge as a sacred act, one that demands reverence, integrity, and humility. In a world driven by haste and noise, his message echoes like a whisper from eternity. As the divine scribe, Thoth teaches that every word carries weight. To write is to shape reality. To speak is to summon meaning. In this view, language is not passive, it is a creative force. Whether inscribing spells on temple walls or penning personal reflections, each act of writing becomes a ritual, a communion with the cosmos. The enduring question remains: is destiny fixed, or is it fluid? In Thoth's cosmology, fate is both scripted and responsive. He records what is, but also what may become. His ledger reflects not just divine decrees, but human choices. In this dance between determinism and free will, Thoth stands as the intermediary, translating between the stars and the soul. His influence endures because it speaks to a fundamental human yearning, the desire to understand. Whether through hieroglyphs or hermetic treatises, mystical visions or scholarly study, the pursuit of knowledge is one of our oldest impulses. Thoth embodies that pursuit, guiding seekers across cultures and centuries with silent grace. Even now, in an age of digital information and rapid innovation, the essence of Thoth is present. He is there in the archives, in the libraries, in the quiet moments of study and discovery. He lives in the reverence we show for books, in the awe we feel when confronted with ancient mysteries or cosmic truths. To follow Thoth is not to worship blindly, but to inquire deeply. It is to approach the unknown not with fear, but with wonder. It is to balance reason and intuition, logic and mystery. He reminds us that true wisdom requires not just intellect, but also heart, ethics, and courage. As civilizations rise and fall, as knowledge expands and evolves, Thoth remains constant, a beacon of sacred learning. His myths endure not because they offer easy answers, but because they pose eternal questions. Who are we? What do we seek? What is the price of truth? So when we write, study, or reflect, we are not alone. We join a lineage that stretches back to the temple walls of Egypt, to the stars Thoth once measured. In every sincere search for meaning, his spirit lingers. He is not just a god of the past, but a guide for the present, a companion on the path of wisdom. And thus, we ask once more, is destiny truly written? Or do we still hold the pen ourselves? Perhaps in honoring Thoth, we discover that the answer lies not in certainty, but in the act of seeking itself.